It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman, riding the wave that is Mr. Pete Mundo, taking you to your weekend. The Vince Show's coming up in an hour. Looks like a great weekend in Kansas City. The Royals are home for the last time this year. It's kind of sad. No postseason, but there's always next year. We'll talk a little football with Mark Van Sickle later. And don't forget, we're going to do our picks. At the end of the show, we each pick one game against the spread. None of Mark's crazy parlays like the one he won last night. None of those, just a game. Just a game you can bet your buddy. Say, I'll bet you a box of Cheez-Its on this game, whatever it may be. I'll bet you the nacho cheese dip to the party on Sunday night that we're taking. Whatever it may be. Combined, we are 6-2. Trying to help you out. We'll do that later in the show. Also, we're going to talk later a little bit about Lulu's Boutique in Mission. I know Pete referenced this earlier today. I called Lulu's earlier today. I called them, and they have a voice machine on. I assume they weren't open yet, but this is one interesting story if you haven't heard it. They're located in Mission. I've got an unbelievable statistic on the Chiefs stadium that you have to stay tuned for. You just have to. This is if we took the percentages of what the Commanders are getting for their new stadium from the government versus what the Chiefs are getting, and we flipped them, this is how much the Chiefs could spend for the same amount of money. How much the stadium could be built. How much could they spend on a stadium if they paid as much as the Commanders are? It's going to blow your socks off if you hear this number. But we start today with the story that everybody's talking about, and, you know, rightly or wrongly, it doesn't really matter, but it's got both sides talking. If we say America's polarized or whatever we want to say, I think America is engaged. I think that's the word that I use. I don't think the right was engaged for a long, long time. And now that we are engaged, oh, my God, we're polarized. We're this awful society. Can you believe the hate that's out there? And I'm like, no, I don't feel much hate in my heart. No, I don't really have time to hate people or think much about that, but I sure see a lot of it from other people that don't like Donald Trump. A lot of hate. And one of those people is Jimmy Kimmel. And Kimmel is suspended indefinitely. You know this. We talked briefly about it yesterday. I did a full podcast on this yesterday. If you want to go more on the business dealings, we're talking about Sinclair and Nexstar Broadcasting, which own all these ABC affiliates, dozens of ABC affiliates. I've heard some people say maybe over 100, but I think it's probably less than that. But they own a bunch of them, and they said, we can't do this anymore. Our sales reps can't sell any advertising in the show. They're getting phone calls and complaints in red areas or even in purple or blue areas where people are just upset with what they see. They turn in a comedy show, and then they watch a guy try to read him the news. And that's what Kimmel was doing. I don't think anybody else has said this. This is a written monologue, and he was reporting the news. He specifically said, over the weekend, and then went on to say, they're doing everything they can to distract you from basically the fact that the killer is all MAGA. This was MAGA on MAGA crime, which I haven't really seen. A MAGA on MAGA murder over MAGA. I haven't seen that. It makes you wonder about his mental capacity, but he certainly said it. And he was wrong, factually wrong. It was not an attempt at a joke. It was factually wrong. So Nexstar and Sinclair say, we're done with this. We're out. And they call ABC and say, we're not going to run it. ABC says, okay, Jimmy, you got to go apologize for this. Say you were wrong. Do a correction, whatever. He comes back the next day. He's ready to go. And they're like, uh-oh, we've seen the scripts. He's doubling down. He's getting ready to blow his top. And they said, no, you're not. They had to suspend him because he wasn't doing what they asked him to do, and that was take the line back. Apologize for it. Say you were wrong or misinformed. Maybe blame some other media outlet for getting it wrong. And, oh, I was mistaken because I read that, whatever. But admit you were wrong and apologize for it and move on. But he wouldn't do it. And so they suspended him indefinitely, which has led to a slew of stories, and now it's trickled down here locally. Yesterday on Channel 9, KMBC TV, they did a story with an attorney in Kansas City with Lathrop GPM, giant law firm. I still say Lathrop Gage. That's what I remember him as. Bernie Rhodes has been there a long time. He's a First Amendment attorney. And he was a big part of this story was basically what he thought of this. And he said, what I care about is apparently ABC did this in response to the chairman of the FCC. Now, he did use the word apparently, and I'll see today because he's going to be joining us here in about 30 minutes. Bernie will be with us. I'll see if he still believes that the FCC chairman is responsible for this. And I think Bernie and I are going to have something in common. He's never going to find anybody, and he's had journalism clients before. He's never going to find anybody that believes in the First Amendment more than me. Again, this is a simple thing if you work in media. You have the right to say whatever you want. But if you don't own your own podcast or your own company, the company you work for has the right to fire you for what you say. That has nothing to do with First Amendment. We chronicled this yesterday. You can't run around the halls of Cumulus using the N-word. They're going to fire you. Nobody is going to defend my free speech if I go do that up and down the hallway. I'm sorry. It's no different than that. But moreover, what this was about was free enterprise capitalism in the marketplace. The affiliate stations were saying this show is crushing us. It's dead weight. What they looked at was these companies also own, as in Kansas City, Nexstar owns Fox 4. John Holt was in here last hour. Fox 4 makes so much more money for their owner, Nexstar, than Channel 9 does for Hearst. You can't even compare the numbers. Fox 4 does probably 4 hours more local news a day than Channel 9, which means they get to sell every advertising spot in all 4 of those hours, and they're not burdened with network programming where you have very little. If you listen to the Vince Show or the Guy Benson Show, you're a lot of spots there that belong to those shows. They don't belong to KCMO Talk Radio. Pete would know this. I don't know what we get, probably a minute each half hour or something, maybe 2 minutes an hour in those shows that we can sell local commercials. But if we do local programming, we can sell 15 minutes of commercials an hour and make more money. That was the problem with the affiliates. This was the free marketplace saying nobody's watching Jimmy Kimmel. We're dealing with complaints all the time. We got people with signs outside our building. We're looking at a violent country. We don't want any part of this. We're sick of this. And we're not going to keep doing this. And we're not going to play their game and do it their way. And who could blame them? Sinclair's executive gave a comment and put a release out when they made the decision. Quote, Mr. Kimmel's remarks were inappropriate and deeply insensitive at a critical moment for our country, Jason Smith said, vice chairman of Sinclair Media. We believe broadcasters have a responsibility to educate and elevate respectful, constructive dialogue in our communities. We appreciate the FCC Chairman Carr's remarks today, and this incident highlights the critical need for the FCC to take immediate regulatory action to address control held over local broadcasters by the big national networks, unquote. They've got an FCC issue too, but it's got nothing to do with free speech. They're asking the FCC to help local broadcasters from being under control of big national networks. Well, good for Sinclair and Nextel. They said, guess what, Disney Corporation? You're not running our company anymore. We have 268 TV stations. We're going to run them the way we see fit. And we can do better than this. And this is not serving our community. And the FCC has very clear rules and regulations for any operation with a license, including KCMO Talk Radio. You must provide programming that serves in the best interest of your community. That doesn't mean that I can't give my opinions here. What it means is I can't come on the air and tell you facts that I know are wrong. I can't tell you the shooter was all MAGA because let's say I'm a liberal host. I can't come on here and say that guy was all MAGA. That guy's all. There is no evidence of that. The authorities have said he's quite the opposite. If I come on and do that, I'm operating against the public trust. And that's what Jimmy Kimmel did. And that's a problem with the FCC, but the FCC did not force this. This is the marketplace. This was all business, and I absolutely love it. Love it to the hilt. So we'll have Bernie Rhodes on coming up in just a few minutes. That will be fun. We can take your phone calls if you'd like to join us, 913-408-7957. That's 913-408-7957. When we come back, I'm going to give you a stunning figure. If the Chiefs were spending the same percentage on a new stadium as the Washington Commanders, how much they could spend if they did it. If they did it the exact same way, this is what they would have. This is what they could spend to build a stadium. This is a crazy number. You're not going to believe it. And we'll talk a little bit about Lulu's Boutique in Mission. They've got the most inappropriate shirts on the rack for sale right now. That's next on KCMO Talk Radio. All right, welcome back to the show. In just a few minutes, Bernie Rhodes will join us from Lathrop GPM. He's a First Amendment attorney. He's been doing it for a long time, and I can't wait to talk about free speech with a person who actually knows the Constitution and the law inside and out. That ought to be good. We'll get to your phone calls in just a moment. Lulu's Boutique in Mission is really close to where I grew up. It is 2.5 blocks from my childhood home on Johnson Drive. This boutique has online reviews that say the owner, Jennifer, goes out of her way to make it a, quote, truly happy feeling every time you're in the store. Others say it's a special destination and that it's a thoughtful place with loving people. A warm feeling. Lulu's Boutique. Ladies go in there and shop, and they buy all kinds of different things at Lulu's Boutique. When you walk in, Pete was talking about this earlier today, according to some people who've been in there and taken photos and posted on Facebook, there's a rack of T-shirts that apparently says, "Is he dead yet?" with the question mark. And one person has said that they asked the owner about it, and they said, well, who do you think it's about? Of course it's about Trump. Wow. Okay. They've got the right to do that. That's the First Amendment. That's free speech. And people have the right to not shop there. It's Lulu's in Mission on Johnson Drive. I'm sure a lot of you are going to make a call and say, hey, what's going on there? You get rid of those shirts? What are you going to do? Or you're going to take to social media and post to avoid that place? That's the free marketplace. Consumers can do whatever they want with this story. Just don't hurt anybody. Don't cause any trouble. Don't break any laws, and be nice. Don't call there and scream at her or call her names or anything like that. Be nice and say, that's not very nice. I know this. If I sat here on this show, I want to preface this very strongly, capital I, capital F, if I said every day about the owner of Lulu's, is she dead yet, and asked that question, I'd be fired pretty quickly because that's immoral, insensitive, completely dead-eared to what's right and wrong in the world, and you would never do something like that. It is an outrageous thing to ask about another human being. Outrageous. But she's running her own business. She gets to do whatever she wants. The marketplace will determine whether she stays in business. I can't even imagine wishing that on another human being. It's just so far from the weird world for me, I can't even believe it. All right, let's go to the phone lines, and we've got Ted, I believe, first, starting in KCK. Hi, Ted. Oh, this is Greg. I'm sorry, Greg in Overland Park. Hi, Greg. How are you?
Hey, Kevin. I'm good.
Excellent.
Maybe I'll drop off some T-shirts to say "Fight, Fight, Fight" and ask her to sell those.
Well, you know what? Maybe we ought to get a little chair on the street corner and sell them ourselves.
Yeah, exactly, because I have one of those. Anyway, everybody was worried about, or not worried, everybody's railing about this free speech issue with, Jimmy Kimmel. And I don't remember anybody on the left or right really making the same type of fuss when Tucker Carlson was yanked for saying something that he shouldn't have said or, causing an uproar. Same thing, Howard Kurtz's show has now been pulled. And, these guys have the right to have free speech. Tucker Carlson still has his free speech on his podcast. If Kimmel wants to go out in the public square or whatever, start his podcast, he can say whatever he wants, but there's no reason that he has to have a national TV platform to do it.
No, you're exactly right. There's even better comps. Roseanne Barr's show was canceled because of comments that she made, and Ellen DeGeneres was basically terminated with her show, which was wildly successful, for sort of being a bully at work, for things that she said to other employees and how she treated them. That's free speech, too, and she thought she was the boss. She could do whatever she want, and eventually they had so many complaints in HR, they're like, we can't have this person here. That's free speech. She didn't hit anybody.
Right. So I applaud the Nexstar and Sinclair affiliates and their company for doing what they did. Jimmy Kimmel has just been off the rails for a long time. And, it's like if he wants to make fun of the president, they let him do it. But when he was factually incorrect, like you said, and everybody noted, that's when they said this is too much. And, if they could replace him with a different host, the show continues and nobody's been canceled, really, as far as the show. The shows have been canceled and free speech continues with somebody else.
Yep. You said it. You nailed it perfectly, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. That's a nearly perfect phone call right there. Outstanding. And what happened to Jimmy Kimmel? Why is he so filled with hate? 25 years ago, he was doing a show called The Man Show, where they had girls in bikinis bouncing on trampolines. That's literally what the show was, while they were talking about sports and guy stuff and making crude jokes with, who was the other comedian? He's conservative. He's got a podcast. He's the guy that did all the Malibu Fires stuff. He lives right there. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible. I can't remember his name. I'll get it here shortly. But they were together, and they were right and left.
Adam Carolla
And Jimmy Kimmel. And it was funny, and people watched it. And it was juvenile, and it was silly. And yes, they acted like they were passing gas and pulling fingers and doing all the things that juveniles do. It was 7th grade humor for sure. And every show ended with a minute of girls in bikinis on trampolines. That was it. And he's turned into this? An unhappy, miserable man? I mean, it's just really sad. So with the ratio of what the government's going to pay and what the Chiefs are going to pay in the state of Kansas, the Washington Commanders are building a $2.7 billion stadium, new one, $2.7 billion. If the Chiefs, with their deal, wanted to put in the exact same amount of money as the Commanders, $1.7 billion is what the Commanders are spending on a new stadium. So the Commanders owner is spending $1.7 billion. If the Chiefs wanted to spend $1.7 billion, they have $6.5 billion to play with in Kansas total, as opposed to $2.7 in D.C. That's just the ratios of what the government's paying and what the team pays. That's the exact number. The Chiefs could spend $6.5 billion on a stadium where the Commanders are spending $2.7 in D.C. We're talking about Wyandotte County out here. Chiefs have $6.5 billion to spend if they put in the same amount as the Commanders. That's unbelievable. I can't believe I left that out of yesterday's show when I was talking about that topic. That's on me. Your host let you down. All right, here we go. This is Ted in Kansas City, Kansas. Good morning, Ted. How are you? Ted, are you with me?
Hey, yes, I'm with you.
All right.
Kevin, got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
If the Chiefs lose Sunday night, how's that going to affect these talks about a stadium?
I mean, I don't think it affects it at all. There's no vote up for debate right now for the Chiefs. There's nothing on the line. There's no sales tax in Jackson County proposed on a ballot. The state of Kansas offer continues. It's sitting right there. The Chiefs don't have a Missouri offer. I think everybody misses the point. There is no offer in Missouri right now. The state's offering 50%, but that's contingent on a city or a county ponying up more money in addition to that. And right now, there is no commitment from a city or a county anywhere in Missouri to do anything for the Chiefs or the Royals.
I think it puts a serious dent in the talks.
What talks? Around. What talks?
Well, all these politicians are wanting to log on to this thing to be identified with a winner. And if the Chiefs lose, I mean, they're still a great team. I mean,
yeah,
I'm only slightly older than you. I mean, I was a Chiefs fan through thick and thin. When they sucked, we had season tickets, and by the time they got going good, we didn't. But I'm just saying,
they had a vote on the ballot. They had a vote on the ballot 6 weeks after a Super Bowl parade, and it got hammered. Jackson County said no. They didn't want any part of it.
To baseball.
No, the Chiefs too. They were on there too. I got to run. I got to get this other call, right? Yeah, I got to do this. Mark says go to line 2. Let's go to John in Olathe. Hi, John.
Hi, Mark. Conservative radio talk show host, you, Mundo, and all of those who follow you can say anything you want to say because you've got nobody sitting across from you fact-checking your stuff.
Okay. What do you got for me?
The FCC did not come down on Fox News for their host, one of them, advocating to kill people.
The FCC doesn't regulate Fox News. It's cable.
Why?
It's cable. It's not broadcast. Get your facts right. If you're going to call me, you better get your facts right, Lefty.
Are they broadcasting?
The federal communications in what we're talking about here are broadcast television radio stations like KCMO Radio or Channel 9 in Kansas City, not cable. You can say what. Have you seen what Greg Gutfeld says on cable TV now? You can't say that on broadcast TV. You don't know what you're talking about. I got no time for you. Sorry. Nice try. Bring it. You want to talk FCC with me and how this business works and what the FCC does and doesn't do? And I'll take any lefty that wants to come in here. I even profusely compliment Quentin Lucas for being on with Pete Mundo every week. It has been great for his career. It keeps him sharp to hear what the other side is saying. It's important. he's very good. There are days that he sounds conservative, you ask me, because he knows the audience that he's politicking to. He's brilliant that way. It's the best. Dude, I can't get conservatives in the media to come on my show or the podcast. TV stations don't want people to come in here and be part of this because they don't want to be seen as political. I respect that. That's their business decision. It's okay. No. Don't tell me. No, cable is completely different. Cable, and so is podcasting. I can say anything I want in my podcast, and the FCC can do nothing to me. Bernie Rhodes, First Amendment attorney, is up next. Well, if our next guest's meter were running right now, I need to win that $1,000 contest because I'm probably going to eat that much up the next few minutes talking with Bernie Rhodes, who's been with Lathrop GPM in Kansas City for 40 years. He's in charge of all of their media law practice group, and he faces all kinds of big cases, high profile, high stakes, high risk. And he was a part of a piece on Channel 9 last night concerning the First Amendment, free speech, and Jimmy Kimmel being terminated. He's been kind enough to join us today. Bernie, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Kevin. I'm sorry, I got to go. Your money is already up.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's over. It's over. Is it true you wear socks that say emergency contact person?
Yes, a client gave me those. I represent all the media around town and around a couple of states, and that means I get calls at every time of the morning or night, and a client gave me those, and I wear them proudly.
Man, I didn't know to call you 5 years ago. I should have known that. That's bad on me. We might have had some good business to take care of, my good friend. All right,
exactly.
Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel, and he's indefinitely suspended, so we don't know that he's terminated at this point. He has a contract. I think they're working through it. There's been reports they saw him going into his lawyer's office and something in Beverly Hills. So this thing will probably all shake out. You made a comment to Channel 9 now that you said, what I care is they apparently did it in response to the chairman of the SEC saying ABC better do something about Kimmel. Do you still believe that, knowing what we've seen about this story, and why does that make this different?
What makes this difference is that's the government putting the thumb on ABC. ABC's a big company owned by Disney. They make financial decisions every day, how much they're going to raise the ticket price at Disney World. But the decision to get rid of the Kimmel Show, suspend the Kimmel Show, was clearly done at the direction of the government because Brendan Carr went on this podcast and said Disney can do it the easy way or the hard way. So it's when the government starts telling us what comedians we can listen to, what comedians we can't, what news we can listen to, what news we can't. That's what scares me, because the First Amendment is what protects us from the government dictating what we like or don't like.
I agree with you, but did the FCC do that?
Heck yes, they did that.
You think they're responsible for him being fired?
Well, again, let's be clear. He hasn't been fired.
Okay,
but I don't
suspended.
I don't think there's any doubt that ABC acted, at least in part, in reaction to what Brendan Carr said. Now, following Brendan Carr, the affiliates, one of which is facing a merger and needs Brendan Carr, the FCC's approval, said they were going to pull out of the show. But the government should be staying out of this entirely. This is what the First Amendment is about. If I don't like what you say, I get my own show, or I go on another show and say Kevin Keatsman is crazy. I don't go to the government and say pull KCMO's license.
Okay, so Jimmy Kimmel made these comments at work. Roseanne Barr got fired by ABC and her show canceled. How is it different?
The FCC didn't tell ABC to cancel Roseanne Barr. That's the difference.
Well, but the fact of the matter is an employee said something and they terminated him for the things that they said. That's not a violation of free speech. That's a company making a decision.
That's exactly right. The First Amendment protects us against the government intruding on our free speech. It doesn't protect what you say or what I say to each other and what our employer thinks about it, or what my spouse thinks about it. You don't have a First Amendment right to do something that offends someone else. You have a First Amendment right to do something that offends the government.
Okay, so if you go to court on a case like this against an FCC attorney, and the FCC attorney says, we've been ignoring the actual laws and rules and regulations of the FCC for decades now, and public broadcasters on airwaves have a different responsibility in their community, and we're simply upholding that where it's not been upheld for 20, 30, 40 years. How do you defeat that in court?
I asked him, can he spell the word hypocrisy? Because last week, a Fox commentator said that mentally ill homeless people should receive lethal injection. So it's a sham to say that all of a sudden we're enforcing the law. They're not enforcing the law. They're enforcing their dogma.
That was not on broadcast television. That was on cable, where the rules are entirely different.
They're not entirely different because Fox owns television stations.
They most certainly are. Those were not on Fox television stations. It was on Fox News, which is on cable. And if I say something on KCMO, I have a podcast and a radio show. I can say anything I want on my podcast. If I walk around here and tell good-looking ladies that work here that they're hot and I want to have sex with them, they're going to fire me. Is that violating my free speech? No. Now, what? Okay, not. So what if I use the N-word right here over and over and over on my show over the broadcast airwaves? Do you think I get fired, and do I have any recourse? Because the FCC says I can't?
No.
The FCC says I can't do it, right?
Right.
Okay, did Jimmy Kimmel make a factual mistake when he said over the weekend we learned that the shooter was MAGA? I don't know if he made a factual mistake or not, but the whole point is... Okay, his employer asked him to correct that mistake. They asked him to correct the mistake and apologize for it, and he refused and was going to double down, and that's when they fired him. You think you could win that case?
Absolutely, I could win that case.
Really?
Because the whole point is we need breathing space. You know, news is called the first draft of history because we make mistakes. I mean, this is not Better Homes and Gardens. We don't guarantee and get your money back if we get something wrong. This is breaking news. This was an event that had just happened. People make mistakes all the time.
And his bosses said, correct.
Made a mistake
I've 100% have. 100% have. And I've worked in organizations all the time that have said, go correct the error. Say we misspoke, we made a mistake, we were wrong, we apologize, whatever it may be, do that. Jimmy Kimmel did not do that. And that's when he got fired or when he got suspended. He refused to do it. That's going to be hard to beat in court, isn't it? How do you blame that on the FCC?
You blame it on the FCC because they said they could do it the easy way or the hard way.
Right.
And it's clear that, this is not the first mistake Jimmy Kimmel has ever made.
Okay.
It's not the last mistake,
right.
A late night comedian will make.
Right. Okay. So.
And if you don't like it, you switch over and watch Jimmy Fallon. That's what you do. You don't have the government come in and tell him you got to fire somebody.
I don't know much about contract law, but I'm going to guess his contract states that Disney and ABC are the bosses when it comes to the content of the show and control and production, and there are rules, regulations within the company and things he can and can't do. I'm guessing he has a clause in that contract. Sounds to me like he broke it. If your boss tells you to go correct an error, a mistake, and apologize for it, and you won't do it, you don't think they have the right to suspend that guy because the FCC made some comments?
No, I don't think they do.
Wow.
Once the FCC weighs in.
And you think the law would see it that way? The court system would see it that way?
Absolutely, the court would see it that way. Because
do you think that's right?
Yes, I absolutely think that's right. Because the government should be staying out of the First Amendment.
But what did the government have to do with Jimmy Kimmel not apologizing?
The government is who told ABC, you need to do something about it.
But they weren't doing anything until Jimmy Kimmel didn't apologize. That's when they did it.
I don't know that.
Well, that's widely reported. That's widely reported everywhere now.
But I don't know which came first. The chicken or the egg.
Okay.
Was it that, or was it the FCC? What I understand is that the FCC, Brendan Carr came out on the air on the podcast before Jimmy Kimmel, before the audience got called in for the next night's show. And so I don't know that anybody had decided what Jimmy Kimmel was going to do before the decision was made to not let the audience in. So I think you're jumping to conclusions and thinking that you know what the reason was. I know for a fact what Brendan Carr said on the podcast. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
I can go watch that.
Okay. And we know that Jimmy Kimmel was ready to tape his show and had written his monologue and was there, and the show was getting ready to record when they pulled the plug and turned the lights off and said, you're not doing this. They saw the script. They saw what he was going to do, and they pulled the plug. They were going to let him continue if he apologized. And he wouldn't.
They were going to let him continue until Brendan Carr said we can do it the easy way or the hard way.
He said that prior.
That fact.
He said that prior.
He said that prior.
Yes, he said that prior. But that moment on, was it Tuesday, that Jimmy Kimmel's got his staff there, the show's ready to go. They tape at like 4:30 in the afternoon. An hour and a half before that, the scripts are all in, everything's ready to go, the lights are on, Guillermo's there, they're getting ready to do their show. And they look at it and they go, well, he's not apologizing, he's doubling down. And that's when they said, turn the lights out on the building and get him out of here.
Isn't that what comedians do? I mean, isn't that what satire is? You know, we used to have a president from Missouri who said, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of being a public official, of being the guardian of the public, is you got to put up with the heat. And that includes late-night comedians.
Dude, I agree.
My God, if you can't stand the heat from late-night comedians, what heat are you going to stand?
Well, apparently Disney Corp and ABC ain't going to take the heat because they got a whole bunch of affiliates really upset with him, with a guy that we're going to learn the show was losing probably as much as Colbert. His contract expires next year, and that was probably going to be the end anyway. These things are going away. These shows are going away on their own just for business purposes. They're all losing money. The people are overpaid. The staffs are bloated. We're going to learn. I feel certain, you know this about media. You know the changing landscape in media. I'm pretty sure that you're certain we're going to learn that too, right? Wouldn't you think this was a giant money-losing proposition every night?
You know, I don't know, but I know that news loses business, and we still have the news because it's a public service that is being provided, and the satire from people like Colbert is something that we desperately need in this country because we can't have a discourse. And so making fun of things is a way to encourage that discourse, and we need more, not less, of that discourse.
Right. Okay, so newspapers are losing money because nobody holds a newspaper in their hand anymore. I know that their business has changed, but like the local television stations here, Fox 4's making money, KCMO Talk Radio's making money. There's all kinds of news outlets because there are more news outlets than ever before. There's plenty of people making money in news. The news industry is not losing money. Old school news, the changing media are losing money. And this is part of that. They're caught. Nobody watches late night anymore. That's really the problem.
Well, you know, I'm 69 years old. I don't stay up till 10:30 to watch the late night comedy shows.
Let me ask you something. If Johnny Carson were on, would you be watching?
No, I wouldn't be.
I'll bet you watched him a lot. I'll bet you watched him every night.
But I am still up at 5:30 when the national news is on. Yeah. And if Brendan Carr can tell ABC and Disney what comedians they can have on, they can tell ABC and Disney what news they can have on during the national news at 5:30. And that's what is most frightening about this.
Didn't ABC News already lose a $16 million lawsuit to the president?
What's your question? Did they lose it?
Did they lose? They settled.
They did not lose it. They would have won that case.
So if you didn't go to court, wait. If you went to court and your client were awarded $16 million, you wouldn't say you won the case?
If I went to court, they didn't go to court.
If you didn't go to court, if you settled on behalf of your client and he got a $16 million settlement, you wouldn't say you won the case for your client?
No, I settled it for $16 million.
Okay.
I didn't win it. That's what courts do. You know, that's what I get paid to do, is go to court and win. You know, I don't get paid to settle.
If you want to settle one for me for 16 minutes, $16 million. I'm going to give you the biggest trophy you ever saw and crown you the greatest winner in legal history.
Yeah, and that's the whole problem here. ABC and everyone else is running scared and is settling cases that never in 100 years should have been settled.
All right, I want to ask you one personal question, and I'm really skating the edge here, okay? Theoretically, if I worked in a company and I were, part owner or something and had my own show and did something, and an outside entity that was affiliated with the company, like a partner or something, a separate company, was really pressing their thumb down and didn't like the fact that I was on the air, and my company made a decision, boy, that partnership with those people and they're interfering in doing this, is that legal or illegal for a second company to interfere with someone's employment?
If the second company is not the government, it's legal.
It's legal.
I know you don't want to hear this, but it's legal.
I'm just curious. I've always wondered. Yeah. So any company can come in and interfere with any employee of another company, and that's legal.
an investor in a company can say, "Here's how I want the company to go."
Not
and
an
if the
investor.
management wants to change the but I'm saying, as long as it's not the government,
right?
If you've got a partner in your company, and I don't mean that.
I stated that improperly.
Partner.
I don't mean an investor.
Yeah.
I mean a separate company that you do business with.
You and I both know what you're talking about, and and yes, that is legal because that's not the government. You don't have a First Amendment right to protect you against another company.
Okay, but wait.
You have a First Amendment right to protect you against the government.
What if it's not a First Amendment issue? What if it's we're not going to remain your partner, a quid pro quo? What if we're not going to remain your partner if something doesn't happen here?
Well, then you get to what we call tortious interference in contract, and that becomes a state law issue and not a First Amendment issue.
What are the statutes and limitations on things like that?
In your case, they've long passed.
Yeah. I knew it. I'm good. I'm good. I do think back and wonder, I wonder if this or that or whatever. Dude, I got to have you on like all the time. Will you come on? I know you're expensive, but my God, could you like come sit in for an hour and take calls sometime?
This is what I do for a living. This is what I believe in. And so I'll appear even on your show, Kevin.
I love it, man. I don't even know you, and I love you. This was fun, and I know we're disagreeing on this particular issue, but you won't find anybody more supportive of the First Amendment than me. I love it. That's great.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Yes. Yeah.
Well done, Bernie. Thank you so much for your time, sir. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Wow. It doesn't get any better than that, folks. Bernie Rhodes, Lathrop GPM. He's been a media law attorney specializing in the First Amendment for 40 years at Lathrop. That was fun. I got in such a hurry to hear Mark's parlays and all his good things going on that I stepped right over announcer guy. Sorry about that. Mark Van Parlay with us. You hit one big last night, huh?
Yeah, I got one from the Bills, so that's twice I've won on the Bills.
How many legs in the parlay?
5 legs.
Jeez.
So 10 to win $80. Or 10 to win $100, sorry.
That is fantastic, man. Way to go. You and I combined we're 3-1 each through 4 weeks, so that's 6-2 total. Are you ready for this week?
Ready to go.
All right. Your selection for our listeners, your lock of the week is?
I'm picking Missouri minus 9.5. So they just got to win by double digits against South Carolina at home.
And that number keeps coming down, right? It's been coming down.
It's come down a little bit.
I love that. That's a good one. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers minus 2.5 at home against the Denver Broncos. I like Denver. I think they're a good team, the whole deal. The Chargers just win, and the fact that it's 2.5, I'm surprised.
I like that pick. I would have picked that if that was my NFL pick.
Yeah. I think if it were 3, maybe you lay off. You think it's probably going to be a 3-point game.
Yeah.
But if you're getting that hook, go get it. Folks, have a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed the show. We can't thank you enough. So many of you now listening to KCMO Talk Radio. It's awesome. Enjoy the Vince Show coming up next, and have a great weekend.